Okay, so let's go ahead and do Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. So in Daniel chapter 9, the reason why we're here in Daniel chapter 9 is because you need to understand Daniel 9, verse 24 through 27 in order to really dive into Revelation chapter 6. The reason is because of Daniel 9, 27. So we'll do a flyby of Daniel 9, 24, 25, and 26, just so you can have a little bit of an understanding, and then we'll tackle Daniel 9, 27, which is the whole focus of the reason why we're here right now. So in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, you are given the whole scope of this entire prophecy. This prophecy right here is absolutely amazing. This scope of prophecy is a picture of a total of 490 years. So this is 490 years. This is the entire prophecy. So in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, he tells you 490 years. It's going to take 490 years for this prophecy to be fulfilled. And if you read Daniel chapter 9, verse 25, and in verse 26, the idea, what you see, is that Jesus actually fulfilled 483 of those years. So here's 483, here's 490. So when Jesus showed up, when he rode into town on a donkey in Luke chapter 19, he fulfilled 483 out of 490 years. So he fulfilled 483. So there's still a little period that needs to be fulfilled. That is where Daniel chapter 9, verse 27 comes into play, because Daniel chapter 9, verse 27 is the final 7-year period to close the gap. Hey, thank you, TK. And so that 7-year period in Daniel 9:27 is what you and I referred to as Daniel's 70th week. And so in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, it says, "Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." And so that 1 week is a period of 7 years. So this is where we get the idea that the tribulation is going to be 7 years. And so we have 7 years that has yet to be fulfilled. Jesus already fulfilled 483 years out of the 490. But there still needs to be 7 years left. Thank you, Yogi. There still needs to be 7 years left that needs to be fulfilled. Daniel 9:27 is that final 7-year period that we are going to be talking about here. So in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, it says, "Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." Who is he? Though he here in Daniel 9:27, well, you need to remember what the antecedent is. And the antecedent is in verse 26. In verse 26, it's talking about the Antichrist. The Antichrist. So the he in verse 27, "Then he, the Antichrist, shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week." This Antichrist is going to confirm. The word confirm has the idea of strengthen. So people are kind of, trying to guess to the best that we can possibly do as to what that means. Like, is there already an existing covenant? Is he just strengthening something that's already in existence? It kind of seems to be that kind of way. But this Antichrist is going to confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and that is going to be a 7-year period. He's going to be like, hey, for 7 years, we're all going to get along kind of thing. And so it's really interesting. Hey, thank you, Russell. It's really interesting when you're talking about this guy who's going to show up, and he's going to be a Mr. Fix-It kind of dude, and he's going to have all the answers for all the problems that are here on this earth, but he is going to confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But then it says, "But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering." Now, what does that mean that he's going to bring an end to sacrifice and offering? This is why it's so important to understand the book of Revelation, because in Revelation chapter 11, we are told that there are going to be 2 witnesses that are going to be in front of an actual temple during the tribulation. There's going to be a temple, and there's going to be 2 witnesses in front of the temple, and they're going to be in front of that temple for 3.5 years. So for the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, there's going to be 2 witnesses on the earth who are literally fire coming out of their mouth. They're going to be turning the water into blood, all kinds of stuff. And so it's really interesting when people are like, and I could be wrong on this, but when people believe in a mid-tribulation rapture, that means that they believe that they're going to be able to see 2 dudes with fire coming out of their mouth and turning water into blood. But at that point, it's not going to be faith. Is not going to be faith. The faith would be sight, because you're seeing all kinds of miraculous things. And so that's another reason why I believe in a pre-tribulation rapture, because if Christians right now, with everything that we know, see that, well, then our faith is no longer faith. Our faith has become sight, because that's something that we are not accustomed to. So during the first 3.5 years, if you get in Revelation chapter 11, it tells you that the two witnesses are going to be on the earth for 3.5 years, and they are going to be doing all kinds of stuff, but they're going to be in front of that temple, which is going to be in Jerusalem. I don't know exactly where. It could be on the Dome of the Rock. There's some speculation there. But wherever this third temple is going to be, the two witnesses are going to be in front of it for 3.5 years. And that's the first 3.5 years. So that's the first 3.5 years. Then, at the middle of the week, in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, it says, but in the middle of the week, which is 3.5 years in, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. So in order to bring an end to sacrifice and offering, there needs to be a temple. You can't stop sacrificing and offering unless there is first a temple. And so this is all talking about to the Jewish people, because it talks about that. It tells us very clearly in verse 24. It says 70 weeks are determined for your people. Who is Daniel's people? Daniel is a Jew. He's talking to the Jewish people. So this is clearly very Jewish. But I think it's really important to understand that this Antichrist is going to create a covenant. It's going to be for 7 years. And he's going to be kind of incognito, it seems, for 3.5 years. And then after 3.5 years, he's going to break that covenant. And then in Revelation chapter 11, it says the beast is going to destroy those two witnesses who are in front of the temple. Now, what's interesting is that the people, when these two witnesses are destroyed, thank you, SD, when these two witnesses are destroyed, all the people in the world are rejoicing. They did not like these two witnesses. Now, you and I, we're like, oh, that's probably Moses and Elijah. And so we're like, yeah, they're the good guys. But the people on the earth, their hearts have been hardened, and they see those two witnesses. They see fire coming out of their mouth. They see all kinds of miracles, and anybody who tries to hurt them are devoured. That's crazy. That's a whole different world. That is a world that is not like anything that we've seen today. And so you get a little picture on how vastly different everything's going to be as the tribulation begins. Thank you, Amy. And so it's really important to understand that these two witnesses will be in front of a literal temple for 3.5 years. They will be untouchable for 3.5 years. And then after their ministry comes to a close, the beast will ascend and will destroy them. He's going to kill them. Their bodies are going to be on the ground for 3.5 days. There's another 3.5. They're going to be on the ground for 3.5 days. And then the beast is going to go into the temple, like probably walk over their bodies into the temple. And then that is what Matthew chapter 24, verse 9 talks about, when Jesus is like, hey, when you see the abomination of desolation standing in the holy place, let him who reads understand. Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. He's letting everybody understand. He's like, hey, when this happens, when you see this, because there's going to be two witnesses, they're going to be in front of the temple, they're going to be untouchable for 3.5 years. When those two witnesses die, the Antichrist is going to reveal himself. He's going to break that covenant, and he's going to reveal himself. Then all the Jewish people are going to be like, bing, and they're going to be like, you're the Antichrist, and then they're going to run, and they're going to do the Tom Cruise run, like where they're just like kind of doing that kind of stuff, and it's just like they're running to the mountains, and it is unreal to see this, and this is a whole situation, and it is so unbelievably beautiful when you are able to just see just how it all comes together. And so as far as a pre-tribulation rapture, it seems to make the most sense, because if you think, I mean, and I could be wrong, and I understand that, and I'm not saying I'm 100% right. I'm very firm on my belief, but there's a lot of people who are firm on a mid-tribulation rapture, and there's people who are very firm on a post-tribulation rapture. I got a lot of questions for those who believe in a post-tribulation rapture, like who's gonna populate the millennial kingdom. That's one. Anyways, that is something that I think is really, really kind of fun to dive into. So I don't know if that makes sense, but that's Daniel chapter 9. But I want you to understand Daniel 9:27. Daniel 9:27 is Daniel's 70th week. That is what people refer to as Daniel's 70th week. So hopefully that makes sense. Now that you understand that, now we can go to Revelation chapter 6. So it's important to understand Daniel 9 before you can dive into Revelation chapter 6. Because in Revelation chapter 6, this is where the tribulation actually begins. This is where we are told about it. Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. And where in Matthew did you say, Renee? Matthew 24, verse 9. That is in, hello, Amy. Yeah, I'm trying. It's in Matthew 24, verse 9 is in that neck of the woods when Jesus basically authenticates Daniel. He's like, hey, go check out Daniel. But in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, it says, in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, it's important to understand Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, because that's telling you about that 7-year period. Now in Revelation chapter 6, we are diving into that 7-year period because this is where the seals are open. Now, as you can kind of get a good feel for what's going on as far as like the rest of the rest of the book of Revelation, we're going to be tackling 7 seals. There's going to be 7 trumpets, and there's going to be 7 bowls. And these are all judgments that are on the earth, that are going to take place on the earth. But what I want you to be sensitive to in Revelation chapter 6 is I want you to be sensitive to the fact that there are no angels directly involved in what's happening here in the first seals, in the seal judgments. There are no angels involved in these. But there are angels that are directly involved in the trumpets, and there are angels directly involved in the bowls. I think that's very provocative. But in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, it says, now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, come and see. So this, in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, you see who's opening the seal. The only person who is worthy to open these seals is none other than Jesus himself. So he has the title deed, and he's opening the seal. Now, it doesn't say that he's reading. So I want you to kind of picture like a roll, like a scroll, and like across like this, the like where the paper ends on top of the other paper. It's like a seal. There's 7 seals, and so he opens one, he opens another, he opens another, opens another, opens another, opens another, and he's opening them all. And so these seals release something allowed to happen on the earth. And so in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1, it says, now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying with a voice like thunder, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. Now, this is remarkable because what you're seeing here is a white horse. Now, many people read this and they associate a white horse with being the good guy, but this guy is the bad guy. This guy is a straight-up imposter. So this is the Antichrist. This Antichrist is released onto the world. This does not happen until the tribulation, and that's something to understand. He's not at least going to be revealed to the world until at least the tribulation, which means we're not going to know it until the seals are actually open. Right now, the seals are not actually open. Therefore, we don't know who he is. We can all postulate and basically project and try to do the best that we can. And everybody's got their whole opinion about things, and that's completely fine. But I'm not saying we're not supposed to be focusing on the undertaker. We're supposed to be focusing on the upper taker. And so that is what I would like to encourage you to really focus on. But, it's okay, completely fine to guess. I just want you to don't be dogmatic. Like, we don't know who it's going to be. It says, and I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. This crown, thank you, Cynthia. This crown was given to him. Now, there's 2 different types of crowns inside the book of Revelation. There's a crown of Stephanos, and there's a crown of diadem. This crown is a Stephanos, which means it's like if you were it's like a victor's crown. Like if you were playing in like the Olympics and you were given something at the end for winning something, you would be given that type of crown. It's a victor's crown. A diadem is something completely different. It's something that rulers would wear. This one is it's a victor's crown. But this Antichrist has his mind set out on winning. He wants to win. And that's interesting because it says he who sat on it had a bow and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. He wants to win. You can just see it. It's just like super. He's like, this is my mission. I'm going to win. And it's really, really remarkable. The question is, who is he going to conquer? It's really interesting. You can dive into that. Maybe it's a political kind of thing. Maybe it's there's all kinds of, it's a very broad scope there, but we don't need to get into that. Verse 3, Revelation chapter 6, verse 3, it says, when he opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, come and see. Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, and that people should kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. This horse talks about war being broken out onto the earth. Now, if there is war on the earth, then that just naturally raises the need for what? When there's war, what does everybody naturally want? Everybody wants peace. Peace, peace, peace. So there's going to be war. There's going to be war on the earth. And this war is going to promote peace. When you get to verse 5, it says, when he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, come and see. So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, a quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. What you see here is that there is still in existence during this time oil and wine. So what this seems to be, it seems to be this famine, which is what he's talking about, this a quart of wheat for a denarius, seems to be a famine that is controlled, which is controlled by the powers that be, because it's told, this horse is told to not harm the oil and the wine. So if there is actual oil and wine in existence, this horse is told not to harm it. And so since the oil and wine are there, that it kind of seems to imply a political kind of famine, something that is orchestrated by the powers that be, which is, very, very, very real possibility. You're seeing what's going on, the trains derailing, you're seeing the ships and the harbors and all kinds of, all this kind of stuff. It's just like somebody is just like orchestrating it, and like everybody like places every. And so it's just really cool to kind of see this kind of stuff. Moving on to verse 7, it says, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, come and see. So I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the pale is more of like a greenish. And the name of him who sat on it was Death, and Hades followed with him. And power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with the sword, and with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. What's interesting here about these horsemen is that if you go to the book of Zechariah, I can't remember what chapter it is, Zechariah 4 maybe, Zechariah 6, I don't remember. And the book of Zechariah talks about 4 chariots, and these chariots are in contrast to these horses here. But here in Revelation chapter 6, you have a white horse, red horse, black horse, pale horse. In Zechariah chapter 6, I think it is, you have the same kind of horses, but they're in different order. It's a different order, but the horses, the colors of the horses are very, very similar. But the difference is one are horsemen, the other one in Zechariah are chariots. So which one's more powerful? Well, the chariots are more powerful than horsemen. Chariots are like the weapons of destruction back then. And so it's interesting to see, just like the design, just from centuries apart from Zechariah to John, where he's writing Revelation, and to see the similarities. But when you get into Revelation chapter 6, verse 8, it says that this horseman is going to have power to kill with the sword, with hunger, and with death, and by the beasts of the earth. I always think it's so interesting to imagine those people who think that they can just survive out in the middle of the woods, oh, I'm fine, I'll go out in the woods and I'll fish and I'll live off the land, and I'll be off the grid, all this kind of stuff. It's just like, dude, you're gonna get attacked by a turtle, man. It's gonna be crazy. Is it Zechariah chapter 6? Okay, thank you. And so it's really interesting, like these animals, like right now, they kind of have a fear of humans because we have dominion over them. During this time, that fear is going to be completely gone. It's going to be it's going to be a whole new world that is going to be taking place during the tribulation. It's not something that is going to be easy. And I want you to recognize that the sealed judgments seem to take place during the first 3.5 years, because in Revelation chapter 8, verse 1, it says that there were silence. Go to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. In Revelation chapter 8, verse 1, it says, when he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. So there's silence in heaven for about half an hour. And what you see there is that the half an hour seems to imply that the first half of the tribulation has already been complete. So the first half, remember in go back to Revelation chapter 3, go to Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. In Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, you have, to the church in Philadelphia, it says, I will keep you out of the hour of trial. So this hour of trial is talking about the tribulation period. So the hour represents the tribulation, In Revelation chapter 8, verse 1, it says there was silence in heaven for half an hour. So half an hour is the first half of the tribulation. The last half an hour is the great tribulation. So what you see here in Revelation chapter 6 is that these sealed judgments seem to take place during the first 3.5 years. Because when you get to Revelation chapter 8, he says that there was silence in heaven for that half an hour. While these seals were being undone and the 3.5 years was taking place on the earth, there was silence in heaven. So for the first 3.5 years that take place on the earth, there was silence in heaven for those 3.5 years. So 3.5 years, the seals are unopened, silence in heaven up here for 3.5 years, while everything's going crazy down here for 3.5 years. During the first 3.5 years of the tribulation, it's not going to be like, you know when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction will come upon them. Thank you, Devin. This whole thing, when they say, it doesn't mean that there's going to be peace. It's when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. It's not when there is peace. There's not going to be actual peace. During the tribulation, it's not going to be like, oh, this is wonderful time out here. No, it's actually going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to be so bad. They're going to say peace and safety, but these 3.5 years are no joke. And so when you get to Revelation chapter 6, verse 9, you get into what's up, Brandon? Good to see you. When you get to Revelation chapter 6, verse 9, it says, when he opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Thank you, Divine. And then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. So here in Revelation chapter 6, verse 9 through 11, is what you're seeing is that you're seeing people who are on the earth during the tribulation. Okay, so the picture that you see is that when the rapture occurs, the light is taken out of the world. It's complete darkness. Thank you, Divine. The light is taken out of the world. It is complete darkness after the church gets raptured up. So I want you to imagine a world without any Christians in it. Zero darkness in it, or zero light in it. So then after the rapture, there's going to be people who give their life to the Lord little by little, because people are going to be like, oh, Ryan told me about this, or oh, Julie told me about this, or oh, Mark told me about this, or oh, like my grandma told me about this, or my brother, my dad, or my mom told me about this, and they're going to be like, I need to give my life to the Lord. But when they give their life to the Lord during the tribulation, that doesn't mean that they're going to just be taken up right then and there. No. They had their chance. And so now they're going to have to go through the tribulation. And so what you're seeing here in Revelation chapter 6, verse 9 through 11, is you're seeing the ones where the world is crushing those Christians. There's going to be a lot of Christians that are ended during the tribulation. And you're seeing a part of them here in Revelation chapter 6, verse 9, because these Christians are ended. They were martyred. They were a witness. The word martyr means witness. They were being a witness for the Lord on earth during the tribulation. They were killed, and now they're in heaven, and they're asking God, they're like, how long until you avenge us? And God is like, just wait a little while longer until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren would be killed as they were. Because there is going to be more people for the rest of the 3.5 remaining years that are also going to be killed during the tribulation. And those people are going to be killed, and you read about them as you continue reading in Revelation. There's people who are killed in the tribulation that are Christians, and there's more Christians that are killed in the great tribulation. And then at the end of it all, then finally Jesus will have his vengeance. It's like, vengeance is mine, I will repay. That verse right there is staggering. But it's important to understand that there are different categories. Thank you. Yeah, Amber. This is, if you're interested in any of this kind of stuff, there's the YouTube, ITZ_sheesh. There's also a link up here if you would like to go check it out. But what I want you to recognize is that there are different categories of Christians. If you picture a bucket here, a bucket and a bucket. In this bucket, it's Old Testament saints. You got Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, Daniel, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. You got all those dudes right here. They're in the Old Testament saints. Then you have the church, which are you and I. We're in this bucket. I hope you're in this bucket. Can you see you? There you are. I hope you're here. I hope you're in this bucket. You got me, you got you, hopefully, and you got your mom and dad, hopefully, and all the other Christians that are in the church age. You're in this bucket. This bucket is going to be removed and go into heaven. And then you have another bucket, which is the tribulation saints. There are going to be people, there's going to be a time, a period of time where there's 0 Christians on the earth. 0. And then little by little, people are going to recognize what happened and that the rapture just took place. And then they're going to give their life to the Lord, but they're still going to be on the earth. And those are the tribulation saints. And so when those tribulation saints give their life to the Lord, they're still going to have to live here on earth until they either die or they hide well enough and they make it all the way through. And so what you see is that these tribulation saints are going to be ended. It's going to be terrible. Lots and lots of just gory, just heartbreaking, like screams and tears and running and fear and panic and all this kind of stuff that's going to be happening here on earth. And then some of them, the ones who do get caught and the ones who do get killed, they're going to show up in heaven. They're going to be like, how long until you avenge us? And God's going to be like, just wait a little while longer until the ones who are still going to be killed, when they get killed and when it's all said and done, then it's going to happen. And so it's really interesting. But then when you get to Revelation chapter 6, verse 12, it says, I looked when he opened the 6th seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and the stars of heaven fell to the earth as fig tree drops its late figs when it is shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. It's interesting that these people on the earth are acknowledging that the seal judgments are the wrath. And so this is why it's so interesting, because there's people who are pre-wrath, which means that they believe that the church will be removed before the wrath. And so what that means is that there's people who believe in a mid-trib or a post-trib, and they say, well, the wrath is only the bowl judgments. But these people here on earth, in Revelation chapter 6, verse 16, these people that are on the earth during this time, that are hiding in the rocks and the mountains and stuff like that, they seem to recognize that what's happening to them is a part of the wrath of God. And so I am just proposing to you that I personally believe that the seal judgments is a part of the wrath. I believe that the tribulation and the great tribulation, it's all encapsulates the whole wrath. It's all the picture of the wrath. It's all wrath. It's all wrath. It's all wrath. And so I believe that you and I will be taken out of here before any of that happens. There's people who disagree with me. There's some really smart people who disagree with me. And so that's why I would like you to test all things and hold fast to that which is good. I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm not perfect, and I understand that. But it says in Revelation chapter 6, verse 17, it says, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Really remarkable, because the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? What is interesting about this is that the question is, who is able to stand during this wrath? Can anybody stand during this wrath? Well, the answer is yes. And that's where we get into Revelation chapter 7. So in Revelation chapter 7, we are going to learn about the people who are able to stand during during the tribulation. And those are the people who are referred to as the 144,000. And so what's interesting about chapter 7 is that chapter 7 is basically like a little pause on the story. It's like a little parenthetical insert. Because here in chapter 7, there's this little pause from the opening of the seals, and the last seal is not opened until chapter 8, verse 1. So that's why there's a little bit of a pause. So in Revelation chapter 6, we opened up 6 seals, but then there's a little pause, and then in chapter 8, there's hold on, please. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Hello, Blue Pearl. Thank you. Sheesh. Hello, Chan. Yes, yes, yes. Hello, Jason. What's up, Julie? Hello, Burnett. Chan, hello. Love for all. Good to see you guys. Wendoli, hey, thank you, Sandy. Yes, indeed. Very cool. Hello, Amy. Okay. Andy, hello, hello. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this thing. I really enjoy. Hey, thank you. Totally blessed. Awesome. What's up, Bridget? Hey, King, what's going on? All right, so, yep. All right, Tony, very cool. Let's go ahead and dive into Revelation chapter 7, which is kind of cool because this was where we were going to end. This is the last chapter that we're doing, and all of this will be uploaded to, hey, thank you, Holly. All of this will be uploaded to YouTube if you wanted to go check it out. It's ITZ_sheesh. ITZ_sheesh. Hello, Sarah. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this thing. Revelation chapter 7, what we were talking about before is that in Revelation chapter 7 is a little bit of a pause on the storyline. So what I mean by that is in Revelation chapter 6, 6 seals were opened, but there's a total of 7. But we only opened 6. So there's 6 of them are opened, and then there's like somebody hits the pause button, and then we get a little storyline where it's just like, hey, oh, and by the way, during this time, and so that's what we're reading about in Revelation chapter 7. So this little pause in the story is where we learn about the people who are able to stand during the tribulation. And that's really cool to see, because in Revelation chapter 7, verse 1, it says this: after these things I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or on any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God on their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel were sealed. Now, this is where we answer the question that is posed in Revelation chapter 6, verse 17, because in Revelation chapter 6, verse 17, these mighty men say, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who is able to stand? Who's able to stand during this time? Well, the answer is in Revelation chapter 7. The ones who are able to stand are the 144,000. What do we know about the 144,000? Well, what we know about the 144,000 is that they are Jewish men. I always forget where we see that it was actual men, because people are always like, why do we know that they're men? And I always forget, but they are men. They are Jewish men who are undefiled, and I can't remember. But anyways, these are 144 Jewish people. These are not, you know, if you are not a Jewish person, then this is not you. There's people who are like, oh, I'm going to be one of the 144,000. I was like, what? I'm like, how do you even understand? Like, what? Like, I don't even want to be 144,000. I want to be home with the Lord. That is what we need to, that's what we need to aspire to. We don't want to be hanging out here and just roll the dice and hope that we're going to be one of these Jewish people, because number one, I'm not Jewish. And so, thank you, ST. Anyways, these people, there's going to be 144,000 Jews who are going to receive the seal of God on their foreheads. Whatever that looks like. Is it going to be visible? I don't know. Is it going to be invisible? I don't know. Something is going to happen to these 144,000. And what I want you to imagine is that the world is completely dark in a sense. Like nobody, going against... this is a time where in 2 Thessalonians, it talks about that the Antichrist is going to go into the temple and he's going to cause everybody to worship him. He's going to do all these kinds of things. And so it's a really, really terrible type of situation. Being a Christian is a dangerous thing to be at this point in time. And so here in Revelation chapter 7, we are told about 144,000 Jewish people who are literally going to be untouchable during the tribulation. They're going to be untouchable. And that's why that's what the seal of God on their foreheads is going to represent. These Jewish people are going to be untouchable. And so if you read Revelation chapter 7, verse 5 through 8, you will see that there are 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. So in Revelation chapter 7, verse 5, it says 12 of the tribe of Judah, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Reuben, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Gad, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Asher, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Naphtali, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Manasseh, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Simeon, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Levi, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Issachar, 12,000 were sealed. Tribe of Zebulun, 12,000 were sealed. Of the tribe of Joseph, 12,000 were sealed. And of the tribe of Benjamin, 12,000 were sealed. So if you do 12,000 times 12, you get 144,000. There's 12 tribes, and 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes are going to be sealed during this time. And I want you to imagine like a whole bunch of Apostle Pauls running around telling everybody that they can about Jesus. And that is going to be their role during those 7 years on the earth. And so it's really kind of cool. But Revelation chapter 7 is a little bit of a parenthetical insert. And we're just getting a little bit more information about what the world is going to look like during the time of the tribulation. And so what we learned in Revelation chapter 6 is that these sealed judgments are going to be opened. There's going to be 6 seals that are mentioned. They're all unleashed on the earth. And then there's a pause. And then we're told about the 144,000 that are going to be on the earth during the tribulation. And then in Revelation chapter 8 is where the last seal is opened. And so when you go to Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, we love Paul. Yeah, Katie. Revelation chapter 7, verse 9 says, "After these things I looked, and behold, a great multitude, which no one could number, of all nations, tribes, peoples, and tongues, standing before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes, with palm branches in their hands, and crying out with a loud voice, saying, Salvation belongs to our God who sits on the throne, and to the Lamb. All the angels stood around the throne, and the elders, and the 4 living creatures, and fell on their faces before the throne and worshiped God, saying, Amen. Blessing and glory and wisdom, thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever. Amen." So what you see here in verse 11 is that there is going to be this mass multitude of people that are going to exit the tribulation. There's going to be a ton of people who get saved during the tribulation, but a lot of them are going to be killed during the tribulation. But this is why it's so important to understand, because when you read Matthew chapter 25, what you find is something that is referred to as the sheep and goats judgments. And so in order to understand the sheep and goat judgments, it doesn't make any sense if in a post-tribulation rapture viewpoint. If you believe that rapture is not going to occur until after the tribulation, it doesn't make any sense. Because Matthew 25 is where we get the people who are going to literally, the sheep and goats, they're going to be sheep on the left, sheep on the right, goats on the left, and the sheep, the people, the born-again believers on the earth who make it through the tribulation, they're literally going to be walking into the kingdom. And then they're going to have babies, and then their babies are going to have babies, and it's going to be 1,000 years, and it's going to be a place where righteousness dwells and is enforced. But here what I want you to focus on in Revelation chapter 7, verse 11, it says, all the angels stood around the throne, and the elders, and the 4 living creatures. So what I want you to kind of, some people think that the 24 elders are angels, but we can rule that one out right away because it tells us in Revelation 7, verse 11, it says, all the angels stood around the throne, and the elders. So these elders clearly are not angels, and some people think that it's the 12 apostles and the 12 tribes put together or something like that. And so, they have their idea. They put 12 and 12 together, and so I see it differently, because if you go to 1 Chronicles chapter 24, you get the role of the priests that David set in motion. Because if you read 1 Chronicles chapter 24, David basically gives you the structure of how the priests would operate within the temple. And he tells them, because think about it, back then, there was a whole bunch of priests, and they all couldn't be in the temple at the same time. And so since there was a whole bunch of priests, and they all couldn't be in the temple at the same time, even though they all wanted to serve, David was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do it, and then you're going to do it for that day, and then you'll come out, and then you go in, and then you serve, and then you do it for a day, and then you come out, and then you go in, and then you serve, and then you come out, and the next thing, it's a rotation, it's a rotation, it's a rotation, it's a rotation. Everybody will have a time to serve. And so when you think about the 24 elders, when you look at the 24 elders, and you compare it to the 24 basically roles that are mentioned in 1 Chronicles chapter 24, you see that it seems to be, gives us a little picture of what you and I will be doing as the 24 elders, because the idea of the 24 elders on the 24 thrones is that there's going to come a time where I'll be able to sit on one of those thrones, and then I'll be able to throw my crowns down at his feet, and I'll be able to do that for a time, but then I'll be able to go and leave, and then you'll be able to come in, then you'll sit on one of those thrones, and then you'll throw your crowns at his feet, and you'll be like, this is awesome, and then you'll get to do it, and then you'll leave, and then the next people come in, and that is what we're going to be doing, and it's going to be wonderful. And so that's kind of the idea of how it kind of, it's interesting how you break it all down. Thanks. Yeah, it's really, really fascinating diving into it. But, that's what I believe the elders are. And so what you see here in Revelation chapter 7, verse 11 is that we can rule out that the elders are not. Help you remember me? Oh, come on, Katie. We gon' high five. But in Revelation chapter 7, I just want you to recognize that the elders are not angels. And that is something that some people say that the elders are angels, and it clearly are not because of Revelation chapter 7, verse 11. I hope I have crowns too, right? Okay, so let's go to verse 12. In Revelation chapter 7, verse 12, it says, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom, thanksgiving and honor and power and might be to our God forever and ever. Amen. Then one of the elders answered, saying to me, who are these arrayed in white robes, and where did they come from? And I said to him, Sir, you know. So he said to me, these are the ones who come out of the great tribulation, washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will dwell among them. They shall neither hunger any more nor thirst any more. The sun shall not strike them any more, nor any heat. For the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne will shepherd them and lead them to living fountains of waters, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. This is basically talking about the large multitude that's going to make it out of the great tribulation. And it's really thought-provoking to see that God is going to wipe away the tears from their eyes. And we talked about this over a year ago about why is there going to be tears in their eyes when they're in heaven? Like, what does that even mean? Well, the idea of what's going on here it kind of seems to be the understanding of that there's going to be tears in heaven in a roundabout way, because you and I are going to come to the realization of how much we could have done. And so that really hits home, because it really, like when I encourage you guys to do what you can for the Lord, like I mean it very sincerely. Like how many opportunities have we not taken advantage of? How many people do we see every single day that we haven't taken advantage of? And so when we come to the realization that this is very real, that the tribulation is very real, that heaven and hell are very real, when we really, really allow that to sink in, and then we look at our neighbor and we're like, man, I've never talked to him about Jesus before in my life. I've been living to him next to him for 10 years. I don't even know his name. Or that lady I work with at work, or that person that I sit next to on the bus, or this person that I go to church with, or this person that, I go to play cards with every weekend or something like that. Whatever it is, those tears in their eyes could possibly be the lost opportunities that you and I realize that we did not take advantage of. So that's kind of the idea of what these tears are. He's going to wipe those tears away, and it's going to be absolutely wonderful. All right, but that is Revelation chapter 1 through 7, and that is a little bit of a picture, and so hopefully it all makes sense. I don't know if you've been here from the beginning or not, but that was good. That's Revelation chapter 1 through 7. I'll upload this to, hey, thank you, Ruby. I'll upload this to YouTube. There's a YouTube link up here if you guys are interested. And if you want to go back and review any of this kind of stuff, you are more than welcome to. Thank you. Hey, thank you, Ed. And it's really good stuff, man. I'm telling you, thank you. Yeah, the dude, absolutely, man. Hopefully how's that tornado? Is that tornado okay? Thank you so much. Yeah, Susan, absolutely. Excellent study. Very cool. I'm glad. Thank you, Yogi. Great job. I kind of feel like, thank you, Savannah. I think, yeah, Angel of God, thank you so much. I feel like we talk about this a lot. And so, it's, thank you. Thanks, Sandy. Hey, Lorianne, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for those gifts. It's so funny, like thinking about doing Revelation, because like, I feel like we talk about it all the time. And so like in my mind, I'm like, this is stuff that you guys already know. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Tina. Thank you guys. You guys are too much. And so, it's really fun. It's cool to dive in here and like unpack things. And Try to figure it all out. It's really tough. And so again, at the same time, full send, Ed. Absolutely. Thank you, Chan. Thank you so much. I want you to recognize, as per usual, that I don't know everything, and I want you to assume that I'm wrong. And so I want you, if you assume that I'm wrong, then you'll dive into it and you'll try to find out where I am wrong. And when you do that, then you'll learn and you'll grow. And that's kind of like the hope of the entire thing. And so that's what I would like you to encourage to do, because when you grow and you fill your mind with this and you allow yourself to meditate on his word, then you're going to have that lamp into your feet and the light into your path. Thy word, What in the world? That is hilarious. Tell your wife I said hello. Okay, you helped me see more of it. Very cool. Walk by Faith. Perfect timing. Thank you. Got to go. Awesome, Katie. You have a good night. One of my favorite books to study. No kidding. I'm new. Where did you get your bike training? My bike training? Huh. Oh, great. Hey, thank you, Purity. Thank you so much. I knew about it, but you made it so much more clear. Very cool. We'll test all things, hold fast. I mean, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm right. But are these studies in the afternoon now? Hello, Melissa. Yeah. Bible training, they're going to be in the daylight hours, Melissa. Yeah, for the most part, they'll be in the daytime hours. And Bible training, I'm a pastor's kid. I'm not a pastor, but I read, I listen, I look up, I take time, I write notes down. Dude, you should see my Bible. It is covered. Like my pages, the pages of Revelation, like the sides, like I've learned to write very small. And so, I do the best that I can. I have a question. What's up, Cynthia? You could be, yeah, well, I feel like this is kind of a good thing too, what we got going on here. And I told you guys that I'll do this until the wheels fall off. And so wheels are kind of falling off. But it's completely fine. And you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm still enjoying this. And so still so thankful to be able to do this. Thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, thank you. I do the best. Thank you for the great study of Daniel and relation. Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's so cool. Please keep sharing every day. I will try to do the best that I can. Greeting from Navajo Nation, New Mexico. First time here from Pastor Hendon. Very cool. What's up, man? Janny. Yeah. Pastor Sam is a huge encouragement. Thank you, Rosio. I was on one of your lives and you gave an analogy that I'd like to hear again. Oh, gosh. Do you remember the analogy? I don't remember the analogy. But it is good to have you. Absolutely. Janny. I don't know if I'm saying that. Johnny. You got some little squiggly lines in that name. I don't know how to speak that very clearly. Hey, what's up, Dina? Good to see you. I didn't know you were here. Or if you were here, maybe you were taking. Have you read the Ethiopian Bible? I have not, Tiny Granny. I have not read it. I'm so glad. Yeah. But it's good stuff. And so I would like to encourage you guys to tell people about Jesus as much as you possibly can. You said you asked your dad, hey, thank you, Chan. Thank you for that gift. You said you asked Chan. Have a good night, Lydia. Thanks for being here. You said you asked your dad about when he thought would be the end times or the second coming. I said something. Was it something about when the children are beyond saving? I think is kind of what, I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about. I was lurking in the background. Very cool. Could be the idea that I think I told before is that when the children are beyond saving, and kind of his reasoning for that is that basically like the kids don't know how to think. They're not told, and that's pretty much like an idea, or kind of shines a light on how the adults are. And so when you look out into the world today, there's a lot of adults who've been in church for 50 years who really don't know much. And I'm not, shaming them or anything like that, because, we're all at different levels and understanding and walks and situations and experiences and whatnot in life. But when the parents don't know much, then when the child has an answer or a question, they're going to go to the parents. And then when the parents are like, oh, I'm not sure. And then what they learn is that then it doesn't matter, because if mom and dad don't know, hey, thank you, Tony. When mom and dad don't know, then why should I know? And so if they don't see mom and dad doing it, then it's clear they're not important, because you're the role model. And so then kids grow up, and then, kids do the same thing. They do the same thing. And so as time goes on, kids in our world today, here in 2024, Now they don't know anything. They go to church and they go to play Xbox. They go and there's like entertainment systems like, PlayStation and, whatever kind of video games. And it's all about, there's a sports, there's a skate park there. And, the churches are kind of telling them a little bit here and there, but it's very surface level stuff. But it shouldn't be it shouldn't be on the church to raise children. It should be on the parents. It should be taking place at home. And so when it's not taking place at home, what do you think that 1 hour inside a church once a week maybe is going to do anything to that child? No, it needs to be happening at home for the most part. Not saying it can't happen, but that's the idea. So I don't know if that was it. Hopefully that helped. Cynthia, we are really close. Seems like it, man. Seems like it. Yeah, Andy, creep is so true. Yes. Okay. Very cool. Hopefully that makes sense. Quick question, Ryan. Is Patmos an island in the country of Greece? It's just, if you look online, you can see it. It's to, I think DJ Nick, I think we have the same Bible. If we have the same Bible, go to page 1721 and you'll see a map there and you'll see Patmos and you'll see it right there. It's right in between Turkey and Greece. Page 1721, if you wanted to look it up. Do you believe there's an age where children will go to heaven whether they follow Christ or not? Yeah, Paige. We talked a lot about that. David, his son, when David's son, if you go back, I think it's in 1 Samuel, it talks about David, his son was dying. And while his son was alive, his David was a hot mess, and he was just there sitting by his son while his son was dying. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't bathe or anything like that. But then after his son died, David starts eating, he starts drinking, he starts cleaning himself up. And so the servants were like, what's going on? Like, why are you all of a sudden okay? And so David is like, he can't come to me, but I can go to him. And so David had the understanding or the belief that he was going to his son. And so that's kind of a good picture to see that. Also in Job chapter 1, you learn that Job has I forget how many kids. He had a ton of kids. Job had a ton of kids, but then he lost all of his kids. But then when you read the last chapter of Job, you see that Job gets double of everything, but he doesn't get double of his children. He just gets the same amount of children that he had before. And the reason why is because he never lost the ones that he lost to begin with. And so even though they passed away, he still was their father, even though they're up in heaven. What's that?
We're making a surprise for you downstairs.
Okay. Thank you. And then Romans chapter 7 has a little bit of an understanding there too, if you wanted to. Yeah. In Romans chapter 7, verse 9, Paul says, I was alive once without the law, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. So basically what you see there is so sweet. Yeah. Romans chapter 7, verse 9, Paul says, I was alive once without the law, meaning or having the idea that when he was a certain age, he was okay because he didn't understand what was right, what was wrong. But then when he did understand, sin revived and then he died. And so that is another reason why we have the idea of an age of accountability. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, that's in Romans chapter 7, verse 9, if you wanted to look it up. Yeah, Jesus is the way. There you go, Mark. Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so sweet. I know she just popped up here. Very cool. Lucky dad. Yeah, Millie. Hello. Shelba. So that is all of this is going to be, I'm going to go upload this to YouTube. If you guys want to go check it out, there's a YouTube link up here. And it's in the link tree if you wanted to go here and check it out. If you're looking for a verse-by-verse Bible study, you are more than welcome to. And so that is Revelation chapter 1 through 7. And what I want you to understand more than anything is how to know for sure you can get to heaven, and that is by recognizing that you're a sinner and that you can't do it by yourself. And then when you do that, you look for somebody who can, and that is where Jesus comes into play, because you need to believe that Jesus is God's son, that he led a sinless life, and that he died on the cross for your sins, and that he was buried and he rose again on the third day. That is the gospel according to Paul in 1 Corinthians 15, that Jesus died according to the scriptures, that he was buried, and that he rose again on the third day according to the scriptures. What amazing good news that is. I mean, how wonderful. And so thank you, Bridget. I want you to recognize that. I want you to just really marinate in that thought. And when you recognize how much you've been saved from, I want you to try to tell somebody else about it, because that is quite literally everything. And so if you recognize how much you've been saved from, then you're going to start to remember how much more you should be loving because of how much you've been forgiven for. And when you remember how much you've been forgiven for, then you're going to forgive more than what you should be doing because we forgive because we've been forgiven. And so then when you do all of those things, then the whole world is just like, what is going on with that guy over there? And they're going to be like, man, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. And so that is what I want you to recognize. You are saved by grace through faith. For by grace you have been saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. That is everything. Okay, so that is what I got for you guys. I'm going to get on out of here. I'm going to go do some dad things, and then I'm going to be gone. Won't be able to cover Revelation for a while, so it'll probably be over a week until we'll be able to do this again. So probably it'll probably be like 7 or 8 days, and then we'll do it again. Yeah, Chan, absolutely, 100%. All right, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. You guys be safe and keep praying. We got a lot of stuff going on. We got the election, and that's the other thing I wanted to encourage you guys. Like, regardless of what happens, God is still on the throne. And I think that's really important because he raises up kings and he brings kings down. It doesn't matter. Like what's going on in the world right now, it does not affect your mission whatsoever. You still need to be doing what you should be doing regardless of the circumstances around you. Be a light, be a light, be a light. We are to be light and salt. Thank you, Bridget. And so I would encourage you to vote in a sense, because I know there's some Christians who are like, don't vote. And it's like, it's two wings of the same bird or whatever. And like, I'm not voting for the lesser of two evils. Well, I totally understand what you're saying, but I want you to recognize that we are called to be salt, and salt preserves and it prevents decay. And so if you can vote for somebody who is against unaliving little ones, like babies, then I think that's something that we should be doing. And that's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Yogi. Thank you so much. And so I would encourage you to do that. It's getting weird out there. And so we need to be salt while we can be salt. Salt and light. Yeah, there you go, Bridget. Okay. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. And I will hopefully see you, Lord willing, in a week or so. And I will keep you posted. All right, guys.